Hey everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Tuesday edition of Today in Sports Betting. First out of the box, going to take a look at a couple of bowl games here, Scott. But guess we should talk real quick about that NFL game last night. Ugly, ugly game there. Pittsburgh all of a sudden has gone from undefeated to the 3 seed in 3 weeks. Nicely done, Steelers. Your thoughts?
Well, there's a reason why I said I didn't want to take the Steelers minus 14.5. Tomlin's teams always underperform against bad teams. Plus, the Steelers are imploding, so I didn't really want to back them. We both agreed on the under. Unfortunately, that I still think was the right side, but you can't turn it over 3 times in your own territory and give the other team 3 shots to start a drive inside of your own about 30 or so.
No.
So that's the main reason why the under lost. Pretty upsetting. But it's even worse when the first half under hits and then you still lose the full game under by 4 points. But it happens. Pittsburgh's falling apart, and yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I really thought that the Pittsburgh Steelers might be able to, kind of gather the troops there and right the ship.
Let me just ask you something quickly. I know that this is all speculation, but let's just say that Pittsburgh loses out.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if they're going to win the division or not if they lose out, because Cleveland can still catch them and they play each other again. But let's just say, hypothetically, Pittsburgh loses out and they lose in the first round of the playoffs. Right?
Okay.
You fire Tomlin?
No.
I'm just asking.
No,
This would be one of the worst collapses I've seen from a playoff team probably in my lifetime.
He's untouchable for at least for a while.
I mean, I thought he was untouchable, but there were rumors about firing him a year and a half ago, and they brought him back, and now I don't really know, because I think Tomlin's a good coach record-wise, but I feel like with all the talent Pittsburgh's had and everything like that, I feel like it might be time to hear a new voice. But you haven't made a Super Bowl in what, like 11 years? Like, I think it might be time, but who knows?
Yeah, it's not. It's you could be right, but they're not going to fire him.
Well, if you think they won't, I'm asking if you agree with me that they should at least consider potentially moving on to a different person.
It depends on who it is. It always, anytime the fire the coach crowd starts firing it up, I want to know who you're going to replace him with and how are they going to do a better job. So if there's somebody out there that could take the Pittsburgh Steelers to that next step, then, by all means, throw him in there. I think he's handicapped by the fact that he's got Ben Roethlisberger playing quarterback.
Definitely true. And I know that the case last year for Tomlin having a great year was the fact that his quarterback play was abysmal and yet his team still almost made the playoffs. And that was the main reason why he was linked to winning Coach of the Year last year. I'm just throwing it out there because if this team continues to play like this down the stretch, and people have already kind of put Tomlin, at least in, I'd say, publicly, on thin ice, even though they might not realistically want to fire him, but he's been rumored to be on the hot seat for a couple of years. I'm curious when it's considered the last straw. I'm just throwing it out there.
He's another season away from even talking about that.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
All right, so today we got a couple of games kicking off here, Scott. We got a 3:00 Eastern game. Bowl games were interesting yesterday. Kind of.
Well, there was one of them, so
got kicked off. Yeah, the first one there, we saw that App State team eventually take care of business.
Well, I know I didn't give anything official on that, but I said that I liked Appalachian State first half, and I like the over. And both those cashed pretty easily. I'm pretty sure Peoples is still running for another 70-yard touchdown. So that game was exactly the way I thought it would. Appalachian can run the ball down their throats. North Texas shouldn't have been invited to a bowl game in the first place, but of course, with all the teams that have canceled and everything like that, you have some below-average teams making bowl games. Shout out to South Carolina, 2-8 playing in a bowl game. I'm proud of you. But it's just a matter of those teams just weren't even close to being equal to each other.
Well, I think with all the last-minute COVID hits that North Texas took,
that didn't help either.
That certainly didn't help. I don't know that would have helped that defense, but it would have certainly helped the offense stay a little more.
Well, let's just say that Bean ended up not being the starter because their original starter did not miss the game. Did it really matter? I mean, App State's going to run for about 400 yards anyway. I don't think it really mattered.
Well, I think you could have been able to keep them off the field a little bit more. Is what I'm saying.
Maybe, except North Texas likes to play up tempo as well. So it was just a matter of you knew going into that game, North Texas's defense would have to cross their fingers every possession to get off the field, and they couldn't get any stops. That was kind of what happened in the game. That's just how it worked out.
Got a few early, but that definitely went downhill as that defense got worn out. So,
Yep.
all right. So we're talking about the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Scott,
Yep.
or the Idaho famous Potato Bowl. Excuse me. Being played in the lovely town this time of year, where everybody wants to go in December, Boise, Idaho. Tulane, Nevada. Two very different styles of play here, Scott. You got Tulane that's going to want to pretty much run it down your throat, and then you've got Carson Strong and Nevada, who plays a little more up tempo. They like to throw the ball around. What do you like here?
Truth is, I'm actually very torn on this one. I know that money has come in on Nevada because Tulane originally opened up at roughly -3.5 down to -1.5. So you have seen some money coming in on Nevada. I think Nevada is a perfect team to exploit Tulane's defense because Tulane has been awful against the pass all year long, and all Nevada does is throw the ball. So I think that definitely helps them. However, I actually really like how this Tulane team finished the year. Now, I know that they ended up losing that heartbreaker to Tulsa. I'm still not even sure how they lost that game. They were up double digits against the backup quarterback in the fourth quarter, and they lost the game on a Hail Mary to send it to overtime and lost in overtime on a pick six. It was almost impossible. I'm not really sure how they lost that game. Other than that, though, they're 4-1 in their last 5. They've actually looked really good with all 4 of those wins coming by at least 14 points. I know that money's coming in on Nevada, and I think that makes sense because this Nevada team has been good, but I really just haven't been a fan of how Nevada finished the year. I actually like Tulane here, and I'm not going to put any money on it. I'm just not really that interested from betting on this game. But looking at how these teams have played lately, I just think Tulane right now enters the game in better form. So for me, I think Tulane's going to rush 3 guys, force Nevada to be pretty much treat him like an air raid, of course, and just try to force him to nickel and dime it down the field. And Pratt has actually turned out to be a pretty good quarterback for Tulane, even though I thought he was awful to start the year. But he's actually come along pretty well. I like him, and I think that Tulane should do enough in order to win the game. So for me, I'm going to lean to Tulane, but I'm not exactly thrilled by that position.
All right. I'm gonna go the other way. I think this
It wouldn't surprise me because Tulane's secondary is terrible, but it's just I don't know. It's just something about this matchup where I think it's a coin flip, and I'm going to take the team that's been playing better lately.
all right, good enough. Yeah, I think Tulane's going to be able to throw the ball with success.
You mean Nevada?
I mean Nevada. Yeah, I think they play a little better defense all the way around than Tulane does. And I've got Nevada plus the points here. I like.
You have any thoughts on the total?
Yeah, I do. I've got a premium play on the total.
Okay, so you can check that one out. For this one, it's one of those games where you look at it and you go, all right, it's a bowl game. I don't really know what to think about this one, but it's a bowl game. For the total, anytime you're playing in Idaho in December, not exactly a great, recipe for the over. So I'm not going to be taking the over. For the under, that's probably where I'd lean. Once again, am I thrilled by it? Not necessarily, but you look at these two teams, Tulane's going to want to run the ball, which should eat up some clock. I actually think Tulane's secondary will show a little bit of resistance to Nevada. At least if they force Nevada to nickel and dime it down the field, you should have a little bit longer drives than just the immediate Daub's 60-yard touchdown catch. I just don't see that happening. I think that Tulane's going to end up with a decent defensive game plan. I'm going to lean to the under. Am I thrilled by it? Not necessarily, but if you look at how Tulane's played lately, 4 of their last 5 games have gone under, and even 2 of Nevada's last 3 games have gone under. I just think this total is a little bit too high, and this game probably lands in either the 50. I think this game's going to land in the low 50s, give or take. I see 27, 24, something like that. I think this game will actually be a pretty big nail biter. So for that reason, I like the under.
All right, very good. Should be a good game. Make sure you check that out. It's an early afternoon game, 3 p.m. Eastern time. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl, and then Scott should have a fairly entertaining game here tonight as 2 pretty good offenses square up there in the whatever it is. What's the name of this one?
About the UCF game?
Yeah.
So the UCF game is known as the Roof Claim.
That's right.
The Boca Raton Bowl.
That's right. The Boca Raton Bowl being played from the home stadium there at FAU down there in, of course, oddly enough, Boca Raton. The BYU's 6-point favorite here. 76.5 is the total, Scott. That's gone up from 74.5. Lots of offense being thrown around in this spot. What do you got here?
Well, based on what you've seen from line movement, the ton of money is coming on the over from 69 all the way up to about 76.5. You have seen a little bit of money on BYU going from -5 to -6.5 or so. Looking at this matchup here, truth is, I originally liked the over, of course, but unlike the Appalachian North Texas game, I think I gotta just call it on the over. I have no interest in playing the over in this game at this stage. I just think you've missed way too much value. You missed about 8 points. And now Appalachian North Texas was a huge move and it went over by a lot anyway. That's North Texas. Like, that was one of the worst defenses in the entire country. UCF's defense is not good, but it's also not completely useless. So I definitely think that, I don't think you can compare that to North Texas. And BYU, it's a phenomenal defense because they're giving up 14 points per game, give or take. So for this one, small lean to the under. I'm not going to play it, but a small lean to the under there because I do think that BYU will try to run the ball. And BYU isn't a team that's known to go incredibly fast. So I do think that they will eat up some clock. And I think that BYU just physically should dominate in the trenches. And I think UCF might have some issues offensively if they can't protect Gabriel. So I think that could play a factor. Do you think BYU is motivated for this game?
Yeah, I mean,
potentially for New Year's Six Bowl, you lost to Coastal, and now you gotta just play in the Boca Raton Bowl.
That's hard to say. It's always hard to figure out motivation this time of
motivation,
year.
I know we've talked about it and how it might not mean much for some situations. I think it's a huge handicapping spot for bowl games every year, motivation.
Well, and you also have to look at who's sitting out and who's declaring and all that stuff, and who's skipping the game. This is a game that should feature most of the personnel in place. I like this BYU team, and I like the fact that they play defense. I think they're going to have a little something for UCF, and UCF, when they've played really good teams this year, Scott, they haven't done well.
They almost beat Cincinnati. They were very close in that game.
They did, and I think this BYU team is better than Cincinnati.
That is fair.
All right, so that's how I've got this one figured out.
I'm gonna lean to BYU as well. It's just a matter of I don't think UCF can get stops. People talk about Gabriel and how he puts up numbers and everything like that. I get that the team goes hyper aggressive offensively. Zach Wilson's clearly the better quarterback in this game, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I agree with it.
Can UCF's defensive line match up with the size and strength of BYU's offensive line? Hell no.
No, and this is a Central Florida team that gives up 470 yards a game anyway. So
if you're BYU, don't you just pound the rock with Algier and just tell them, listen, I know that our offensive line is just going to manhandle them up front?
Yeah, I got to think
that average like 6-7 yards a carry in this game.
Yeah, I got to think the goal here is just to keep that UCF offense off the field. I think BYU has the ground game and the defense to do that.
If I was looking for a player prop, I'd look for Algiers on the rushing yards over for BYU. I just think that he's going to have a big game because I don't think UCF can stop the run. UCF's are going to be motivated for this game because they have a chip on their shoulder. But the issue here is that BYU is trying to finish off one of the best seasons that it's ever had. Of course, not a national championship winning season, so it's not the best season they've ever had. But this team has been great all year long. And I know that it was a pretty tough spot against San Diego State with the lack of real momentum and motivation. They still won by double digits. This team's just good. And UCF, I think, has upside, but this team also is just very, very undisciplined if you watch UCF play. Ton of really just dumb penalties all the time.
Right.
And if they end up committing one unnecessary roughness or one of those unsportsmanlike conduct penalties just to extend a drive, go offside, something like that, BYU is going to burn you. Like, you can't afford to give this team second chances, and I think you'll agree that if you have watched UCF play, which I'm sure both of us have at least on occasion,
Right.
season, how many dumb penalties do they commit per game?
A lot.
It's a lot of really bad penalties.
Yeah, this is a pretty disciplined BYU team. You're right.
And UCF also can't kick. Their kickers had issues all year long. So they could potentially leave some points by the wayside if you end up settling for a field goal and from 30-something out. UCF's kicker is not a guarantee. BYU's kicker is. BYU's kicker is one of the most underrated kickers in the country. He is absolutely money, and I think you'll agree with that.
Yeah, good kicker indeed. No doubt about it. All right. Any final thoughts on this one?
I'll link to BYU. As for the total, I know that everyone's going to want to take the over because, duh, it's UCF. It's a bowl game. You know, it's good weather in Florida. But I really am not interested in taking the over in this spot, especially if we just said that BYU should dominate in the trenches. I think they could run the ball 30 times in this game, 30 or more, and you could just see them moving the chains. What incentive does BYU have to play fast?
No, none. You know, I think they want to avoid a shootout.
I think they do too.
I think that's the only way that UCF can win is a shootout, and I think BYU will want to play ball control and play keep away from Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
All right, there you go. And, of course, as always, if you're looking for more information on these bowl games, and, of course, any bowl game, we've got you covered over there at winnersandwhiners.com. Deep dives into every game every single day. Don't forget to check that out. And, of course, don't forget to like our videos and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. Click that bell, get notified each and every time we put up brand new content. And it's the brand new content. It's coming fast and furious. As Scott and I do our videos every day, I'm doing a video on every bowl game. So make sure you check into that and get yourself subscribed to the Winners and Whiners YouTube channel. And that's going to do it. You guys enjoy this great week of football. We have some day games. They have the day game there as well. Excuse me. And stay tuned for our NBA video. That'll be next. But for right now, for myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at winnersandwhiners.com, appreciate you watching. Hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back at the window. And we'll see you next time on Today in Sports Betting. Take care, everybody.